Welcome back to the Hustle Wing podcast. Hustle Wing is the leading marketplace for side gigs. Today, I'd like to welcome Dustin Markowski, CEO of Power Solar. Dustin, thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Perry. I'm glad to be here.
Well, let's jump right in. I have had many EVs. I have some backup battery generators at my other house. I'm very familiar with the solar space. I've never done anything but DIY projects, but I'd love to know what Power Solar is, what it's all about.
Well, we started about 6, 7 years ago, um, focused on residential and commercial solar. We so we've been here for a good part of kind of the rise in it over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of changes happen. Um, our primary way of selling would be going into people's homes for a long period of time. COVID really changed and shifted how that happened, and our business completely changed. And from there, we were looking at how do people like to buy? How do people want to interact? What are the problems that we're facing? And so we looked at that and said, the future is being able to have people, kind of self-select and do these things on themselves. And so that's kind of been our focus since then. In the last 3 or 4 years, is really trying to help enable consumers to be able to kind of self-educate, make a decision, and be able to kind of purchase and go along with a solar system or an EV charger or a battery or something like that as well. So
I'm like dying laughing inside because my first job out of college, it was, the recession had happened and everything. Had a hard time finding work, and I ended up at a used car dealership, and cars are a passion of mine. And I go through that experience and I see so many startups and a lot of companies today that are still like even great companies that have fantastic products that I still use, but they have that antiquated model of like they want to shove an account manager down your throat and they're not really account managing. They just want to upsell you on everything. And it's just, I am so with you when it's like the self-service model I've been saying since 2015, 2016, like self-service is the future. I don't think having account managers and having people come around and tell you what's in your best interest when you're just in the process of learning, it can be really predatory. And there's sometimes it can be really helpful if you have a good person, if you have a good salesperson, a good account manager. But I think all of us have experienced a mix of fantastic people that were really listening to your best interest, our best interest, and sometimes the opposite of that. So I am very much aligned, and I would love to jump into Power Solar more and talk to us a little bit about what challenges is Power Solar facing, what projects are you guys currently working on. Maybe there's things in automations that you guys are working on or things in AI. I know obviously the tax bill was new last year, so there's all these tax reforms when it comes to figuring out what you qualify for and how to track it and how to manage it. And talk to us about some of the challenges and projects that you guys have, going on that are exciting and fun.
yeah, I think there's kind of two big categories of them. The first one is what are the challenges that we're just kind of seeing in the industry overall, and then what's the way to tackle those, and then also too, like you're saying, the specific projects that we're working on, which really kind of address some of those things. So I think it really starts with how solar as an industry has evolved over the last couple of years, where you've seen um, a lot of in-home or remote salespeople, and it's known in the industry that it's like the wild wild west, right? And so there are people trying to find all ways to kind of make as much money as they possibly can. In the very earlier days of solar, people were charging probably about twice as much as what we're seeing per unit being sold today, with a lot less education and information. And so I think it seeded a lot of distrust from the consumer, right, and from our purchasers. And so there is a lot of distrust in this industry. And I think the biggest evidence of that is we can go into a home, we can talk with a homeowner and somebody, and we can see that they have 8 or 9 quotes, and they're like, "Well, what's yours?" Right? And this is somebody who's interested in actually moving forward, but I don't. It's hard for me to make a decision when I have so many different options and they're all over the map. What's the real thing? And so So we see, I think that's number one. I think that, when you look at examples of who's done it really well in the world, you see like Apple, Tesla, you seeing these people that like, they don't really have salespeople, but they have facilitators. Like, how can we still help educate? How can we still help guide people and help them self-select what the right option is for them without having to push that? Um, and so that kind of creates, that's the big project that we're under currently, is what we're trying to do is build um, a direct to consumer app website that uses available information in databases on like sun availability for every roof and across the country, right? And uses that and AI to detect, hey, where can we actually put panels on a roof? And then you now, as the homeowner, can actually go through and just say, you know what, I like a panel here, here, and here. You could just kind of design your own system, and you can see your bill going down every time you're adding a panel onto your roof. And so just make it very, very easy to understand the direct connection between my solar availability on my house, the bills that I'm currently paying, and how this could all work for me. So that's the project that we've been under the last year or so, and we probably have a good maybe 6 to 9 months before we have our first kind of product ready to release out into the public. But we're looking for people that have either have experience in AI or front end or back end development. Really, as many people as we can find to do parts of this project to kind of help bring this to market. So we're really excited about it, but it is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and you jumped the gun on me to talking to really addressing our audience, who is, these are mostly side hustlers that, like I said, they could be full stack developers, they could be back end, front end, they could be salespeople, they could be business development or marketing people, they might be product managers like I was in a previous life, and so it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity there. Is Power Solar? Are you guys open to the model of hiring these people on a contract basis or on a side gig basis, and then seeing if they have the performance to kind of bring them on full scale? Like, what do you think that model looks like to interact with these side giggers that are listening?
Yeah. So as far as that availability goes, salespeople is also another category we're always just kind of looking for folks. The industry has built it based off of contract on a contract basis, and so we're very open for it. Um, I, as a business model, like we look at our values as a company, we're always looking for how do we like partnering with good people is usually the best thing that you could possibly do. And if you find somebody who is fantastic, it's like, what do you need? How do you want to work with us? And we'll figure out a way to make it work. And so that's kind of always been our mantra. So whether it's people that want to just do part-time, have their own business or their own side hustle and want to kind of continue to build that out, or people that are looking like, hey, I want to be part of this as a kind of my extension of my own family. Like we look for both types. And in fact, uh, many of our key folks internally started off as doing contract work first. And so it is probably the primary way that we actually hire internally. So
Yeah, that's excellent, and I think it's a really good fit for us. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to present you and to our audience and to even speak with you, because this topic is so interesting to me. And what I wanted to touch on before we jumped ahead and started talking about roles and all the different potential openings that you guys are kind of evaluating is the thing that's so hard about solar. And I've learned this the hard way myself as a DIYer, like, just putting solar panels on multiple sheds and having battery backup, is you could invest a lot of money into your system, buy panels that are, specifically for a certain area of the roof, a certain size, have battery backup, and then all of a sudden you find out, the panels are facing the wrong way just by a couple of degrees, or that tree, if you got rid of a tree that's overhead, you could actually save money on getting so many panels. And so it sounds like just a lot of the projects that you're working on is taking out some of that guesswork for the consumer to really get some more clarity and understanding around what, how many panels do I need? Where should I really put them? And what's the cost benefit analysis on, on how many panels, where should they place them? What kind of light availability, all that different stuff. And I'm sure if you guys do battery backup, just like totally off grid stuff too.
yeah.
So all of that, that's where it was really hard for me, is like, I don't know. Like in the summer, it's so different than in the winter.
Yeah,
If you're not in LA, I guess. But so it sounds like a lot of the projects that you guys are looking at is making that so much easier for people. And it's such a need, because if you look at, talking about Apple, you can give a 3-year-old a tablet and you don't have to give them the user guide on how to use it. They just pick it up and they know what to do. And if that's what you guys are doing for solar and for green energy, I think it's so needed. It's really exciting. And I hope people listening are inspired to reach out and get involved in some capacity, because, yeah, it's a huge monument to achieve what you guys are trying to achieve, I think, to the extent that I understand it. There's a lot you kind of touched on. It seems like there's an array of products you guys are currently working through. Is that right?
yeah, and to your point, there's a lot of variables at play. It can be very complex because like you said, there's so many different things that can play into a design of a system. And like how do we know um, a certain size system put on a different roof, even your next door neighbor could have completely different results, but yet all the variables are knowable. And so what we kind of think through is what are the top three or so goals that people who are interested maybe in having solar or some type of renewable energy system where they're getting their power. What are their typical goals, right? And if we can build for the goal, then I think that really helps simplify it, right? So we know that most likely people are looking to save money. We have inflation is going up, everyone's kind of getting squeezed in a lot of different areas, and most of us don't have a choice when it comes to who our utility company is, and that's one of the nice things about solar is it gives us that type of freedom for the first time, unless you're in Texas where they have like 50 different utility companies. Um, and so like so all those variables are knowable, and I think that's where technology can really help make it very, very simplistic. Is we know what we're building, like we're building for typically, and you can really, like you said, take all of that guesswork out because you can help drive people through that decision by just really understanding what is the thing I'm trying to optimize for.
Yeah, instead of having some newbie like me on a page reading about bifacial panels for 7 days and still not knowing what the heck is the right choice for them. So
Right.
yeah, it is a, I'm sure there's an elegant solution, but it is a monumental challenge, at least to me. So I'm excited that there's someone like Power Solar coming in to kind of figure this out. Um, with that, we touched on a lot, and I think before we wrap, I want to touch a little bit on your story. Why? And I know you're in California, right? So of
Hmm.
course there's that tie into solar. I feel like everyone in California is very green energy aware or whatever. Growing up in New Jersey, I know New Jersey is a huge market for solar actually as well, or was.
Yep.
But talk to me about why Power Solar, how you ended up here.
I spent the first 20 years of my career in tech, um, and I think the big kind of moment for me was realizing that I could sell something to someone that benefited them in almost every single area with no drawbacks. And I think that was the first time where there wasn't a piece of what I was selling to somebody that I was afraid to talk about. Like, oh, let's not look over let's not look over at that side of the picture. It was just something where I felt really good and confident about it, and I think um, uh, most of the American people like really resonate strongly with that message, whether it's you know going green or having your own freedom on being able to kind of build provide your own energy, um, or whatever it is, like whether whatever you believe on politically, I think it doesn't really matter so much as the fact that we have one planet here, right? And we have been kind of given that stewardship over what we have, and we haven't been the best with it, and we could be doing better. And that's what I love about solar is that it just um, uh, gives us, kind of a solution to be able to say like this is a path for doing much better. The sun's going to come up every day. and the fact that that's what's creating the energy. We're using that to harvest and power our life. I think is fantastic. So um, there's short-term trade-offs always, but the fact is that over time it ends up being a really fantastic solution. So
Yeah, and it's especially. I mean, there's so many use cases where what I don't know if people understand the gravity of what you're saying to some extent. When we were redoing a roof, a flat roof that I had on a building in a city center, and it's like we had just recovered the roof, and by putting solar on, we would have taken off hundreds and hundreds of degrees of radiant energy going onto the roof, destroying this new coating we had put on, and also gotten back the all the efficiency gains. And you can do all kinds of fun things with. You could do pergolas. You can do all kinds of cool things with solar. So the creative options are endless. The amount of potential to melt snow or do different things, there's a lot of really cool opportunity. um so yeah, your story's awesome. I love what you guys are doing. Where can people find Power Solar? Where can people find you and connect with you?
um, you can find us online at power.solar. There's no .com or anything else at the end. It's just power.solar. And you can find me on Instagram at Dustin Markowski. I haven't been very good at keeping that up to date as of late, but starting to get back into it recently. So that'll be good.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for your time, and I hope we're able to drive a bunch of side giggers to the site, and I hope we can spread your message because I love what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. If I would say that my one goal and my one mission in life is really to help people who want to build businesses, and that's what we're able to do here. Is there's a lot of people involved that are able to build their own business, but partner with us to be able to go to market together. So the more we can do that, I think the better.
That's awesome. Dustin, thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Have a good one.